A magnitude 5.9 earthquake rocked parts of Mindanao on Saturday, forcing sudden evacuations in several establishments and workplaces. Newly installed DOST Chief Renato Solidum says there is no indication yet of a dangerous eruption happening at the Taal Volcano, despite the increased sulfur dioxide emissions. And North Korea has dropped its mask mandate after declaring victory against COVID-19. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's everything you need to know as you jumpstart your weekend. I'm Angela Lagunzad. A magnitude 5.9 earthquake shocked some areas in Mindanao yesterday. Pag-asa says the epicenter of the tremor was located at Datublas in Suwat in Maguindanao. Aftershocks from the quake are also expected. Meanwhile, in Cotabato, where intensity 3 was felt, a mall reportedly had to close temporarily after a part of its ceiling gave way. No one was injured in the incident. Meanwhile, the Science and Technology Department says there is no indication yet that a dangerous eruption might happen at the Taal Volcano. Speaking to us here on One News, DOST Secretary Renato Solidum Jr. said the presence of sulfur dioxide gas is not yet a concern at this point since emissions have not yet reached barangays. However, Solidum clarified that while status at the volcano remains at alert level 1, people are still not allowed to enter the volcano island as there is still the threat of inhaling sulfur dioxide gas.
It will remain at alert level number 1. We don't see the other parameters significantly increasing, but the prevention of any untoward incident is already manifested by the restriction of people's entry. The other hazard again is the sulfur dioxide, even if the volcano will not explode, and a lot of gases can be inhaled. So the entry into the island is really prohibited.
The Migrant Workers Department is now working on an app to help OFWs process their papers by digitizing their documents. The details in this report by Laila Pangilinan.
Around 7:30 in the morning, Brian was already inside the Department of Migrant Workers building in Mandaluyong City. He was looking to fix a discrepancy in his Overseas Employment Certificate or OCE.
So pinapunta po nila ako doon sa MRD para po ayusin. Ang problema po doon sa MRD, nakita na nila, ayaw naman po nilang ayusin. Nandito na po ako, ang sabi po sa akin, i-online ko pa ho. Bakit ko pa ho i-online nandito na ako?
Paul came all the way from Batangas, and Lizelle got stuck 2 hours in traffic just to get their OECs. But even before getting their certificates, they also had to go through the steps of getting an appointment. The DMW issues the OEC as clearance and proof of registration for overseas Filipino workers.
Kasi ang OEC po ay nakakabit ito sa iba't ibang proseso. Isa itong outcome document na magsasabi na ikaw ay isang documented at tapos na yung proseso kapag ikaw ay nabigyan ng OEC.
Getting an OEC, however, isn't that easy. There are requirements needed. An additional fee also applies if you're planning to work in the US or Canada. Moreover, the application depends on whether you are skilled, professional, or low-skilled worker. To make the process easier, the DMW is working on an app in collaboration with the DITC.
So yun po ang aming intensyon, maging digital na lamang yung OEC. Nang sa ganun, hindi na kinakailangan ng physical copy. Mamaya nawala, nalukot, nagkaroon ng problema. Pagka-digital, hindi na hahanapin.
The app is expected to be launched by November this year.
Kailangan talaga i-test namin na mabuti bago namin i-roll out para kung meron man, minimal na lang yung glitches and kayang-kaya ng sagutin. Bawasan ng husto yung pagkakataon na kailangan sila pumunta.
Some OFWs have welcomed the move, saying they could spend more time with their families instead of worrying about the paperwork. For News 5, Laila Pangilinan, We are One News.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching on One News Now. I'm Angela Lagunzad. Prices of fast food in the United Kingdom have gone up due to the growing effects of inflation. More details in this Bloomberg video.
Your cheeseburger just got a little bit more expensive. Here's why. For the first time in 14 years, McDonald's has increased the price of its cheeseburger by 20%, up from 99p to £1.19. And it's not just burgers, it's also McFlurries, McNuggets, coffees. The price to go large has doubled. All of this is symptomatic of rising prices across all sorts of everyday products in the UK economy. Inflation in June hit 9.4%, a new 40-year high, and the Bank of England now expects it to rise not just into double digits, but above 13% in the fall when energy prices spike. In response, the UK Central Bank has raised interest rates by half a point to 1.75%. It's the biggest hike since 1995, and it means that it's more expensive to borrow. The bank says the main cause of UK inflation, as in other countries, is the rise in oil prices generated by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Governor Andrew Bailey says there's nothing the bank can do about that. What the interest rate rise is targeted at are the ripple effects of that supply-side inflation. Because of COVID and Brexit, there's a shortage of workers in the UK and firms are struggling to find staff. People who are trying to cope with the rising cost of living have more bargaining power to ask for higher wages. People who earn the most are bagging the biggest raises. But to cover the expense of these pay rises, companies are lifting the prices of everything, including your burger. This is the bit that the bank hopes it can control. But by lifting interest rates with a jumbo hike, which will make mortgages more expensive, for example, the bank forecasts that it's going to bring about a 5-quarter-long recession. It's a significant moment for the Bank of England. Never before in its independent history has it been forced to choose to inflict such pain on consumers in order to hit its target, 2% inflation. But Bailey says that that's what he and the Monetary Policy Committee are determined to do. No ifs, no buts, even if that means acting forcefully again at future meetings. There is a chance that the bank's being too gloomy in its forecasts about a recession. By being so candidly negative, will it make a protracted slowdown a self-fulfilling prophecy by weighing on consumer confidence? On top of that, officials aren't allowed to factor in government tax and spend policy that hasn't yet been confirmed. So, given that we're about to get a new Prime Minister in the UK, you'd hope that more fiscal support is coming soon. Still, the chances of the price of your cheeseburger dropping back below £1 anytime soon are pretty slim.
Here are some of the biggest stories we're following around the world. North Korea has lifted its mask mandate 3 months after announcing their first COVID-19 case in May. The announcement comes after Pyongyang again blamed Seoul for causing the outbreak in the country. North Korea also lifted other health measures, such as social distancing, as it declares victory over COVID-19. Meanwhile, in New York, traces of the polio virus were detected in the city's wastewater, according to health officials. This after the U.S. logged its first polio case in nearly 10 years in July. With polio having no known cure, New York officials say they are now opening vaccine clinics to immunize the public against the virus. And the United States is looking to boost trade with Taiwan in response to China's military exercises, following the visit of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. According to Washington, a new trade plan between Taiwan and the U.S. will be released soon. The U.S. has also insisted on the right to air and sea passage over the Taiwan Strait. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 9 in the morning as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Angela Lagunsad. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.